How worried should we be about intrusion from the tabloid media? Well, Prince Harry wants to change the way that the media work. He blames the media, particularly the paparazzi, for the death of his mother and for, he thinks, the hounding of him and his wife out of the country. Well, yesterday he gave evidence at the High Court for the second day in his own trial that he has brought in a case, along with many others, Elton John and other celebrities and some other non-celebrities, in a claim that there was phone hacking by the publisher of The Mirror. Let's talk to Michael Cole. He's a former royal correspondent and joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Look, we've not been able to see Harry's performance, for want of a better word, in the witness box over the last couple of days. We've had some stations got actors, mocking up, speaking the words that Prince Harry said, and we've got many watchers, supporters and critics of Prince Harry giving their verdict before the judge gets to give his verdict later in the year on how they think he's done. But from what you've seen, what you've read, do you think so far he has, if not, we don't know whether he's going to win in the High Court, has he won in the court of public opinion?
Julia, there is nothing in our famously unwritten constitution which says a prince may not give evidence in one of his father's royal courts of justice, but it's rarely done, and after the last 2 days one can see why. Because if Prince Harry is going back to California thinking that his testimony has won his case against Mirror Greek newspapers, I'm afraid he's seriously delusional. After his 8 hours, his counsel, David Sherborne, said to him, gave him a question, a very Californian question, how has this made you feel? Yeah. And the prince was struck by emotion. He choked up and he said, it's a lot. Well, this is a man who sat in the front seat of an Apache attack helicopter in Afghanistan and allegedly, according to himself, killed 25 Taliban. But 8 hours of facing Andrew Green QC, Casey, I should say, getting up to date, the counsel for Mirror Group newspapers, was obviously an ordeal for him.
Well, that's because he's not used to actually being questioned in that way. Normally, he used to soft soap the Oprah Winfrey's and like. I thought genuinely, in terms of his demeanour, from what we can gather from those in the court, he seems to have held up pretty well. A couple of times he was chastised for, no, you don't get to ask questions to me. I ask the questions. That's how it works. But a lot of people were expecting that he might, he might sort of go off on one. He might explode. He might get emotional. That this would go badly for him. It doesn't appear that to be the case. I think one of the most damning things, actually, is a question and answer exchange with Andrew Green, as you say, the barrister for Mirror Group newspapers. He said he put it to the prince that he was in the land of total speculation. He said there were no phone call records to back up his allegations there was phone hacking against him by the publisher of The Mirror. Mr. Green said, are you aware of any evidence that gives any indication whatsoever as to the extent to which you were hacked, if at all? Prince Harry replied, no. He said, though, he did say, that's part of the reason why I'm here. He also then claimed, he claims that the newspaper had basically destroyed vast amounts of evidence to hush up its wrongdoing. That is his allegation. But again, he doesn't have any evidence for that. Do you think this is the first time that he's actually had to, face this sort of level of scrutiny and questioning without people saying, oh, yes, Harry, no, Harry, 3 bags full, Harry?
Well, you've summed it up very well. And you asked a question earlier about the hounding of his wife, which he obviously objects to, and quite rightly so. But the irony of it all is, and you see it here, the banks of photographers outside, the whole Nikon choir. Here's somebody who doesn't want publicity but is drawing it to himself. Yeah. Look, let us be quite clear. His hurt is raw and real. His anger is incandescent. His belief in his truth knows no bounds. But accusation, allegation, suspicion is not going to decide this case. Proof is going to decide this case. And I read every syllable of his testimony over the 2 days, and I was looking for the smoking gun. Julia, there was no smoking gun, and I don't think there was a gun, to be honest with you.
That's very interesting. I mean, look,
33 instances, according to him, where his privacy was illegally invaded. And there was no proof causing us to believe that it was orchestrated and procured by senior people at Mirror Group newspapers. Now, let's put this very much into perspective. The people who are being accused of felonies, very serious crimes. And were they to be proven, they would go to jail.
Yeah.
These are people who work in the trade of newspapers. They probably are family men. They pay their taxes, family men and women. They think they're good citizens. And they're being accused of a crime by a royal prince. Now, if that happens, then it's beholden to him to bring to the case proof.
Yes.
And there is no proof. Allegation is not proof. Accusation is not proof. Belief is not proof. And Mr. Justice Fancourt, the judge, will have to judge it on that. Now, unless the other plaintiffs, and he's the leading plaintiff in this case, he has brought this case. Don't forget that. These are cases that occurred. The most recent one was 12 years ago. Some of them are 26 years old.
Yeah.
And he's brought the case. It's his case to prove.
Yeah, and that's the key thing.
When you do that, you've got to go into the arena of well-armed.
Absolutely. Now, you were a royal correspondent for many years. You then went on to work as a spokesman for Mohammed Al Fayed, the former, the Harrods owner, and of course, we know that Prince Harry, he's got a lifelong hatred of the media, particularly the paparazzi. And of course,
listen.
No, but
Julia,
can I just finish? No, can I finish there? But of course, he lost his mother Diana in that crash. But of course, Mohammed Al Fayed lost his son Dodi, and of course, another family, they lost the driver as well, and terrible injuries for the security officer. Life-changing injuries for him as well. But you were around at that time. This hatred of the media, was that something that started with the loss of his mother? Do you think it's been fueled by his marriage to Meghan? Do you think that he says now, he's always felt this way? Do you think that is the case from being someone who's been very closely involved in this world for a long time?
Julia, there's enough tragedy and sadness to go around. Let me just tell you that. And am I sympathetic to him? Of course I'm sympathetic to him. From the moment he was carried out of the Lindo wing of St Mary's Hospital by his father with Princess Diana in that lovely red dress, he's been under scrutiny all his life. And a little anecdote, which actually tells you a lot. Before he was 3 years old, Prince Charles and Princess Diana and their two boys were invited to Mallorca by the Spanish king and queen and their family. And Juan Carlos wanted to up the image of Mallorca by asking them there. And he was very press conscious, the king, and he arranged for a press conference at this villa with the two royal families. And we all went along, we were invited, and we took some nice pictures. The whole of the Nikon choir was there. And after a while, Harry, not 3, squirmed out of his mother's grip and came across and picked up 2 handfuls of gravel from the drive, and he threw them at the photographers with all his tiny might. And he said, "Go away, men's, go away, men's." And after that, he was always sticking his tongue out at the photographers, to his mother's dismay, because she knew that's the photograph that would get in the paper. I feel very sorry about this, because I remember the little boy on his first day at nursery school coming out with a finger puppet that he'd made and painted for his mum, and he was running home to show it to her. He was a happy little boy, and of course he was a happy prince. And one wonders where that happy prince has gone, the man who was joking with Usain Bolt on the running track, who was always smiling, who was terribly popular, and also who served this country gallantly.
Absolutely. In Afghanistan, one of the things I found extraordinary from his first day in court actually was him saying that he felt, not only did the media want to sort of cover his and intrude, he believes, in his relationships, they wanted to break them, they wanted to end all his relationships, and that they were out to get him. And again, I've worked in the media for many years. That was absolutely not the case. Yes, there was the Nazi uniform and a few ill-advised decisions, but generally, most people I know were like, good on you, Harry. Well, good. You're the spare. Go and have great fun in Las Vegas hotel rooms. You're fighting for the country. I felt, and people were delighted and thrilled for him when he found love.
Julia, you've put it, he was hugely popular. Yeah. Everybody loved him. Okay, he was a bit of a tearaway and he did a few naughty things. And they related to that. But I have to tell you, and as a journalist, you know this, journalists don't have to encourage any royal person to do something stupid or scandalous.
Nailed it, Michael.
They can do it quite happily by themselves. I mean,
okay, Michael, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to leave it there, my darling. I could talk to you for hours. Great pleasure to talk to you. I love those stories from the past of, this attitude that everyone's hated Harry all along. No, that really is not the truth. A former royal correspondent and also, of course, spokesman for Mohammed Al Fayed as well. That's Michael Cole.